So most anglers tie on a spy bait, throw it a few times, they either don't get bit, or if they do get bit, they lose those fish. The truth is, a spy bait is one of the most effective tools for catching pressured smallmouth when you know how to fish them right. In this video, I'll walk you through the exact gear, the tricks we use, the retrieves we use to help you get bit. But stay tuned to the end because I'm going to reveal our tricks and the way we keep those fish pinned so you have full confidence when you're fishing a spy bait. So over the years, I've learned that spy baits are incredibly effective for catching smallmouth, especially big smallmouth. And I believe the reason why is the look they don't see very often. It's super subtle, extremely natural, and the vibration when they come in from behind a spy bait, it seems to really trigger them into biting, especially those ones that might not bite other baits. So as effective as a spy bait is and the amount of bites it gets, a massive pain point for anglers is the design of the bait typically causes you to lose a lot of fish, especially if you don't have your gear completely dialed in. For me, the biggest challenge is you're dealing with really small treble hooks and you've only got 2 on this bait. So for a lot of anglers, they like to fish these baits for fun. They'll use them in practice, but they'll be the last resort when they're actually in a tournament situation because they don't want to hook a fish and lose a fish when every bite matters. All right, now let's talk about when to throw a spy bait. So generally the conditions I'm looking for a spy bait where it's going to become top of mind is when I know there's, smallmouth in the area. Maybe they're not exactly in a, power fishing mood to bite, big reaction baits. I like calm and maybe a little bit of ripple, not too much wave action. This is a very subtle presentation and it's very visual. So definitely when you've got high skies, meaning like it's sunny out, there's a lot of visibility down there for those smallmouth to see the bait. Don't expect this bait to perform when it's cloudy or, when it's low skies. Again, we're relying on their vision for this technique. So when it comes to where I'd fish this bait, I've found that the spy bait excels over flats. So if there's boulders or, there's weed clumps and those fish are relating to anything really on those flats, that's when I'm going to use this bait to cast past the structure and then slowly reel it past, whether it's the boulder or whatever. And I'm going to cover a lot of water. It very much is a power finesse search bait in a lot of cases for us. In terms of depths, I found that the bait really excels up shallow. So in that like 4 to 13 feet in clear water, that can be considered shallow. When you get out deeper, they do work. You need to get in some bigger, bulkier sizes. But definitely when I'm shallow, when it's calm, and when it's sunny, that's when I'm thinking spy bait. So I believe that a spy bait will outperform other finesse techniques, really for me, for one simple reason. Most guys aren't throwing them. They're generally fairly expensive to buy. And a lot of people don't quite understand exactly what to do with it or what the bait should do. So again, for me as a tournament angler, I'm always trying to go against the grain. What are other guys not doing so that I can show those big pressured fish something they haven't seen before? And the reason I believe that is oftentimes if we approach a flat or an area, we generally can only go through that area once. Those fish will immediately come and eat the bait. But if we circle back and try to re-go through that area, using the spy bait isn't always the best approach for recycling an area you've caught some fish. So really good bait for covering water and going through that area for the first time. All right, now when it comes to picking the right size, there are a variety of sizes of spy baits. You got 60 millimeter up to 95 millimeter. I've seen even like 110 millimeter. It's interesting, the JDM side of things, they really use millimeter rather than inches. But, I like to keep it simple. I look at the profile and I try to match the size of the forage that I'm trying to imitate. Oftentimes, at the beginning of the season, they're keyed in on smaller minnows or other, really just smaller minnows. As the season goes on in the summer, the size might get a little bit bigger. And then as we get into the fall, I'll even go back to the small profile. When most anglers are thinking go big, going small can be a huge advantage. Now, when it comes to color selection, you're either trying to keep it natural or you're trying to be different, kind of reactionary, something they haven't seen before. So, You know, in this case, we've got a perch pattern. So if I know there's perch in the area, especially if I'm fishing around grass, that's when the perch will really shine. And then a lot of the time I'll go with like a more natural minnow style color. Black has become a massive favorite for me. It's totally different. Smallmouth love black, and I found that they love eating a black spybait. And then even sometimes like pink color as a smallmouth bait, smallmouth color is excellent. Keep it simple, match the hatch, or just try to be different than the crowd. So for me, when it comes to rod, reel, line, and action, everything, I turn to a 7.4 medium light, something in that range, but definitely a medium light rod is critical. You want the length to get these light baits way out there. You also want that length to be able to absorb shock. So the length combined with the medium light action gives you the parabolic action to absorb the shock when you're using light line. You can really hurt the action of a spybait by going with too thick of a line. So I opt to go with 5-pound braid to a 6-pound fluorocarbon leader anytime I can get away with it. If I feel like I can get away with 8, that would be about the maximum I would go with. Now, for rod, feeling the spybait is pretty critical. I find that oftentimes with low-end rods, you can't feel if it's working right, or if you got quite the right cadence. It's kind of a pressure feel type of thing. So I like the sensitivity of a high-end rod. This is our Finesse CX line of rods. This is a 7.4 medium light, and it's also got the carbon handle. It gives me a little bit more feedback, so I can really feel if the bait's, like I can actually feel the bait vibrating, where when I'm using cork and I'm using EVA, I can't quite feel that. The other thing that you'll find with spy baits is oftentimes they'll come in, they'll just nip it in the tail, like in the back treble, and other rods you wouldn't quite be able to feel that slight little tap. That's going to tell you if you've got a fish following you and you should probably be really focused on biting, or sometimes I use that as a clue that I don't have the right color, and I'll actually make a color switch because I haven't committed, but they still tap the bait. Again, feedback that you get from using a high-end rod, light line, and then like a light fluorocarbon leader, getting really good action out of the bait. It's running true. For reel, I like to go with a higher end, mid to high end spinning reel with a really good drag. Again, you're using 5-pound braid to a fluorocarbon leader. And you're also using really fine wire treble hooks. So the reason for the fine wire is you want to be able to get good hook penetration at long distance. Again, super finessey, light whippy rods. And that drag is going to absorb a lot of the head shakes and the quick surges those fish are going to have throughout the fight. Now, when it comes to landing the fish, I like to let the reel do a lot of the work. I like to back the drag off quite a bit, especially when that fish gets close to the boat. That's when those surges tend to be super intense, when they know they're getting close. So back the drag off, those little let the little treble hooks on the bait do its job, and if you got good parabolic action, it's going to absorb a lot of the shock as well. So combined with the drag, you got the parabolic action, light line, you should be okay. That is the biggest key to not losing fish, is having the right setup. I can't stress it enough. If you have too stiff of a rod, if your drag isn't, super high performance, meaning it's going to give way loosely, you're going to lose a lot of fish, and that's where most people fall off when it comes to spy baits. Okay, so when you finally find the fish and you know what they're doing, the key to this bait and getting the right cast is to keep that bait above their head and continuously move. You never want to change the cadence of the bait. So what we do is, whether you have forward-facing sonar or rub shallow, we know how, where they're cruising on the bottom or around off the bottom. We're going to cast it way out there, and this bait will actually shimmy on the way down as it falls. Sometimes that's going to trigger bites. More often than not, though, it's just going to get you in the right column of the water column, like the right depth, and then you're going to start your retrieve. And you're just going to reel it as slow as you can, keeping those blades spinning. And you kind of want the bait to basically just ride above their heads, so you're not touching bottom, but you're still reeling slowly. If it's windy, sometimes we'll reel it a little bit faster. We'll even upsize our weight, but more often than not, just simply cast it out, make sure you keep it above their heads. And no matter what, even if you see those fish following it, 20, 30, 40 feet away from the boat, you see that big blob or black follower. Sometimes they get really black and dark. Sometimes you see that. Do not change the cadence of the bait, meaning don't try to impart any jerks or actions. You're just going to reel it straight. And if they don't bite, that's okay. You can circle back, make a long bomb cast of them, and sometimes that will allow you to get a second chance of that fish. But we found that as soon as you impart any kind of action or you kill the bait, you've immediately lost your chance of catching that fish. All right, so I promised you guys that I would tell you how to keep these fish pinned so you gain the confidence you need to fish a spy bait, even when you got big money on the line. So the first thing, like I said when we were talking about gear, is having the right rod, reel, and line setup. Having your drag when you got, I'm not going to talk about the line again, but the key is your drag. You actually want it pretty loose, probably looser than you would expect. Basically, when I'm setting my drag, I'm pretty much envisioning applying minimal pressure. A lot of the times, these fish will almost set themselves the way they hit it because they hit it so aggressively, and these little treble hooks have such fine wire hooks. As long as you're applying reasonable pressure to that fish, like, you're gonna be fine. So expect that your drag is going to be working a lot when you're landing one of these fish. So don't be afraid to let that fish run. Definitely don't try to really force a turn unless you absolutely have to. So unless that fish is going to a log or a piece of structure or a big weed clump that you feel like you're going to lose the fish, don't try to turn the fish. Just keep good pressure on the fish. Allow that fish to get tired. I find with a spy bait, the fight is typically quite a bit longer than if I'm fishing with other finesse techniques. That's how minimal amount of pressure I'm applying to those fish. Now, here at Great Lakes Finesse, we know that it's not that simple. So we've actually designed the stay pin spy bait to be the problem solver of losing fish with a spy bait. What we've done is we've actually added a third hook on the top. Most of the time when these fish bite, they're going to either hit it from the back and eat the tail, or they're going to hit it from the side. We positioned a back hook on the top because we really, no spy bait this size has the ability to have 3 hooks on it. They would either get, tangled up with each other, or the internals don't allow for it. So we put it on the top. No matter where they hit it, from the head, from the back, there's always an opportunity to get 2 of the hooks, and that's going to eliminate a lot of the leverage they get from a spy bait. So typically, when you're fishing a normal spy bait, if they come in from behind and they eat it, they're only getting that back hook. Now you've got the leverage of this entire spy bait going back and forth when they jump, and they're shaking their heads. That's why you're losing a lot of those fish. So this back hook on the stay pin spy bait is going to pop free, and it's going to swing freely. So you've got the best chance of getting at least 2 hooks in that fish, which is going to allow the bait to not flop back and forth. It's going to stay pinned to the side of the fish or to the body of the fish and allow you to have the best chance at landing those fish. We found that by using the stay pin spy bait, we've pretty much gone from losing like 30 to 40% of our fish to pretty much landing almost all the fish we hook, which is a huge confidence boost. So now with this top hook, we've just got so much confidence that we're going to land those fish that it's oftentimes the first bait we pick up when we get to our first spot. So now you know everything you need to know to turn a spy bait into your new confidence bait and keep those fish pinned. If you found value in this video and you learned some things, we'd love for you to like and subscribe. Follow along. This is just one video in our Finesse Boot Camp series. So join our community and come along and learn with us.